Bye now.
She stayed sick for so long. Oh, yeah. But the Lord God Almighty touched her body one day, and that's why I sing her this song. Oh,
Hi, I'm Anthony Wiggum, and your message of praise is 1 John 4, verse 16, from the New Living Translation. We know how much God loves us, and we have put our trust in His love. God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. Get your message of praise at wjou.org. I'm Anthony Wiggum, and I am Oakwood University Radio.
oh, you know, Joe was a sick man. He stayed sick for so long.
And right now we are live on Facebook and we are live on YouTube for our special Black History Month edition that we kicked off on the first day of February. You remember Latrice Pace was in, and we talked with her about her family and how they have contributed to the Black community, I guess, as far as gospel music is concerned. So today, we have an amazing guest with us today. As it is Black History Month in the Tennessee Valley, we have a great, rich history right here in the Tennessee Valley. And you got your mic there. So today, we are having in the studio, live right now, special guest William Hampton. He is the founder, director, curator at the Huntsville Revisited Museum. Welcome, welcome. Let's get that mic up. Try it again.
Thank you for having me.
Pull it up. Yeah,
Okay.
There we go.
All
Get
right.
up there. There we go.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here with us as well. So we're going to really talk about Huntsville, the Tennessee Valley, and, in general, how has our history really contributed to overall the Black history story? So what inspired you, first of all? Let's start there with what inspired you to delve into the rich history of the Tennessee Valley and the Black community?
Well, when you go on a search for something that's hard to find, you start digging. If you lose a sock at the house, in the dryer, you're looking for things. The lost coin, you're digging down in the sofa for something. In my case, it was history, family history.
Okay.
And I had the good fortune of knowing 3 of my great-grandparents, and they would share things with me. And then I went to, during integration, I went to, predominantly Black school.
Yeah,
During
yeah.
segregation.
Yeah.
Forgive me, during segregation.
Yes.
And after we integrated, kids would talk about their families and their rich family histories. And I love going to the library. So their stories were archived there. And I would go and look for my family stories, and there was nothing about us in the library archives. So I just started digging through census records, through any document I could find about my family history. And through the course of that, I found out that Huntsville had some Black history as well that wasn't in our books. And so I would just take a deep dive into whatever I could find, whether it was books, just researching any resource that I could find, sharing our stories. And as a little boy, I started running my mouth and yakking about Huntsville this and Huntsville that. So that is what started the course. My great-grandparents and my grandparents.
And, when you really started being noticed was when you went on Facebook, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an organized, it wasn't like an official
Right.
type of thing, but it just garnered a lot of support. Tell us about when that happened.
2008, I launched the Facebook page. Originally, I was on social media on MySpace. If you remember, I was working with Madison Avenue Records with Madison.
Yes.
MySpace.
Oh,
Well,
my God.
when we recorded the Open Praise CD project for the
Yes.
Madison Mission Mass Choir,
Yes.
we were promoting and marketing through MySpace, and a sister-in-law of mine had joined this Facebook and was telling me about it. And I looked at her page, and Like, nah, I'm not really interested in doing that. Sharing personal information and whatnot. So within the next few months, I kept looking at her page and thought, wow, well, I love sharing pictures, and I have thousands of pictures that I've taken through the years.
Yeah.
So I launched Huntsville Revisited in 2008. November 2008. That was intentional because of the name change from Twickenham to Huntsville took place in November of 1811. So I launched the page on the anniversary date there.
Okay.
And it did. It took off.
Wow.
Within a few months' time, about 3,000 members had joined the page. And then I got a message from the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
What?
Wanting to know if I could implement something like that in their city.
Okay.
And I said, well, I don't know your city. They thought that I was an employee of the city of Huntsville. And they said, well, your city chamber hasn't reached out to you? And I said, I don't even know that though I exist.
Right.
So
Oh,
within
wow.
a few years' time, tens of thousands of people were interacting with the page, and now it's hundreds of thousands.
Right, hundreds of thousands of people. And now you also are, like, I would say, kind of in quotations, official, right? Because you have a museum as well.
I
And
have a
it's-
brick
it's
and mortar, yes.
A brick and mortar museum. Tell us about that.
That's a lifetime dream. As a little boy, I had wanted to become Huntsville's first black mayor, Alabama's first black governor,
Yes.
a private investigator, a garbage man. That's as a little boy.
Yeah.
And open a Huntsville History Museum.
Okay.
And in my high school journal, I wrote that out, that I wanted to one day open a Huntsville History Museum. And I would post that on the page from time to time, that I wanted to one day open a museum. And the owner of H.C. Blake, Mr. Jim Batson,
Yes.
who I did not know by name. I knew the company, H.C.
Yeah,
Blake.
everybody knows
Yeah,
H.C. Blake,
they've been
yeah.
in business since
Yeah.
1884. And so he reached out to me, invited me to lunch one day, and we got together, and we drove over to this shopping center on North Parkway. And it was in disrepair. It was pretty raggedy.
Yeah.
And he said, let's get out and walk. I want to show you something. So as we walked through the buildings, and he told me his plans to have restaurants over there, and he's going to just revive that center. He said, I see you posting about wanting to open a museum one day. He said, would you consider opening your Huntsville Revisited Museum in this space?
Oh, wow.
And I looked at him. I thought, oh, mercy, yes.
Wow.
So God just opened up some doors.
Wow.
He gives us the desires of our hearts, and he provided a space for me to share my collection and the collections that others have donated.
Great.
And I'm forever grateful to him and the citizens who are trusting me to keep their family heirlooms and keepsakes
Right.
for others to see for future generations.
So you have really, if I'm talking to our listeners right now, if you have not gone down to see the museum, you've got to go down there.
Please.
It is just, I mean, it's in a small space, but let me tell you, you end up spending like hours
Yes.
there. It's a small space, but he's got so much in there, so much good information that, and he could actually go and search things for you and or show you how to actually go and look for information that you might be looking for. So as we know, let me see if we have any questions on Facebook, because we are taking them. Hey, Nicola Palmer, I believe, and Monica Pope, thanks for being here with us. All right, so let's talk about any significant events or milestones in the Black history of Huntsville and the Tennessee Valley. What are the top ones for you?
Oh, in no particular order. Of course,
Yeah,
we know
exactly.
one of the highlights is March 1962, when Dr. King came to Huntsville to help us in our civil rights struggle. And he spoke here at Ashby Auditorium. Oakwood was the only place he could speak at large enough in the
Yes,
community.
right.
He could not speak at Alabama A&M because it's run by the state of Alabama.
Right.
So he could not speak in any government facilities, venues here in Huntsville. So Oakwood opened its arms. Also, Mr. Leroy Garrett and Viola
Okay.
Garrett, founders of
Yes,
WEUP.
WEUP, our
We
sister station.
1600, as high as you can go in AM
Yeah.
radio at the time. Well, during those days, Jim Crow, black-owned radio stations could not stay on the air 24 hours a day. We signed off at sunset. So Mr. Garrett and Mrs. Garrett went before the United States Senate. They had sued the FCC.
Yeah.
And throughout their efforts, black-owned stations are now able to stay on the air 24/7. At one time, there would have been a law that WJOU would have to sign off at sunset.
Right.
So we have, their efforts there. We have the efforts of Dr. Sonny Herford, Dr. John Cashin, Reverend Ezekiel Bell, and several of the other folks who, went on the front line during segregation. We have Oakwood's own Miss Etna Daly.
Okay.
Her sister Frances Sims.
Tell us that little story about
little
that.
of that. Okay,
Just
I don't
a
wanna mess
little
up
bit.
the name. Washuri Ajanaku.
Yes.
She's now at 17. At age 17,
Yeah.
she was the first person arrested during the Huntsville sit-ins.
Oh, wow.
Oakwood family.
Yes.
I think she was an A&M student, just entering Alabama A&M at the time.
Awesome.
Vivian Malone, who was the first graduate of the University of Alabama. She attended her first 2 years of schooling at Alabama A&M here in Huntsville.
Amen.
Wow.
Rich history.
Rich history. Also on this campus, we know that the Peter Blow Plantation, Dred Scott, we asked the listeners to research his story. Mr. O.W. Gurley, Ottawa Gurley, who founded what we know today as Black Wall Street, born here in Huntsville, Alabama. So many other pioneers in the field of music and medicine. Dr. Burgess Scruggs, I think Reverend Julius Scruggs is one of his family members, one of the descendants of that Scruggs line. First licensed black doctor in the state of Alabama, right here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So many fascinating stories.
So we don't talk about these. You really mentioned a lot of unsung heroes right there. So out of that list that you just shared, share with us, one of your favorites and why, and a little bit about their story.
Well, Ottawa Gurley, his family was enslaved by Frank Gurley, who the town of Gurley is named in honor of. After emancipation, which now Ottawa was born 3 years after emancipation, just the perseverance, the foresight, the vision to do great things, under adverse circumstances. One person I did not mention that I share his story every day, and that's William Hooper Council,
Yes.
the founder of Alabama A&M.
Yes.
Probably more than any other story that I'd like to highlight is the fact that he, in 1887, had purchased a first-class ticket to ride on a passenger train. Now, we know Rosa Parks' story, 1955. We know Claudette Colvin, who was 9 months prior. But Dr. William Hooper Council, the founder of Alabama A&M, in 1887 had purchased a first-class ticket to ride on a passenger train, all right? And was told that he couldn't sit in that seat. He refused to give it up, and he was attacked by 3 men. One smashed a lamp over his head, and they drug him back to the Negro car. And Dr. Council sued the Interstate Commerce Commission in 1887.
1887.
And he won.
I never heard that.
He won, and A&M fired him.
What?
And
are you serious?
folks ask, well, how in the world could he be fired by a school that he founded? Well, that story, and quickly, when the school was founded in 1875, Dr. Council used his salary to pay student tuition, teacher salaries, and he invested all of that back into the school.
Yeah.
And it got to be a little bit much. So turned the school over to the state. So by 1887, the school was operated by the state. So, of course, that filtered on down to 1962 when they were running it, and Dr. King can't speak out there.
Right.
So he was gone for 1 year. It's one of those situations where someone does so much on a particular job, and you might not realize what all they do until they're gone.
Right.
So he was rehired, and he served as president until 1909 when he died. So his story being, A&M being the first college founded by a former slave, so much rich history out there. So Dr. William Hooper Council, during his lifetime, he was held in as high esteem as Booker T. Washington.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
So his story is never told enough. Outside of Huntsville and really outside of the Alabama A&M community, Dr. William Hooper Council is not known. And his story needs to be told and retold. I have a large compilation, a hardback book with great African Americans. No mention, nowhere is Dr. Council included in those stories. And not that anyone should be excluded, but his story needs to be included. And that's the importance to me of sharing stories. People ask me, why is Black history important? And I used to try to get deep with it. Because it's American history. Our stories are left out of the narrative, and folks have no clue of our contributions. And William Hooper Council is what I would highlight.
I agree. Wow, wow. We're going to have to keep that in mind for future and just how we can continue to share that story.
When Oakwood was founded in 1896, I've read through documents that William Hooper Council was consulted as to how to deal with white people in the community. You notice both schools are out.
Yes,
Oakwood, they wanted to have it far enough away from the center of town as to not offend white people, to have educated Black people.
That's why they're out. Okay.
So Oakwood is out here. Now, A&M originally started where the Von Braun Center is. That's the original site after they moved out of the basement of Lakeside United Methodist. So they were where the Mars Music Hall and Rhythm on Monroe. That's the original site of Alabama A&M. And then they moved out to Normal in 1890.
Wow. So Council was Council.
Council is Council. Yeah. And so, where Channel 19 sits today, and that corridor of Holmes Avenue, Church Street, what else, Jefferson, all of that was the Black Business District.
Wow.
So during our young days, we'd go downtown and Princess Theater and the Adale Supper Club down near where they're building our new federal courthouse. All of that corridor from where the depot is to Huntsville Hospital was just a thriving Black business district.
Wow.
Royal Funeral Home was down there on Oak Avenue.
I remember that.
First Church sat right next to it.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was born on the street right behind the Gardner Street. So those were some great days. And you had mentioned, some of the highlights during our struggles. During the Blue Laws, we had the Sunday Blue Laws. That was a big thing in Huntsville.
Yes, it was.
And, of course, Oakwood being, honoring the seventh-day Sabbath. Sunday was the first day of the week.
Right.
And I remember some instances, and I believe your dad, Mr. Harry Swinton, opened up on a Sunday. And so that's a story we'll have to revisit one day.
Because that's a great story. He tells that story to us all the time. But thanks for mentioning that. So are there any themes or patterns that you've noticed across the different stories and accounts that you've encountered that are related to our Black history?
What was that again?
Any common themes or patterns that you see that kind of weaves through our Black history here in the Tennessee Valley?
Just perseverance. Huntsville, some of my friends from South Alabama and from the central part of the state, said, well, you guys don't know the struggle.
Yeah.
Huntsville has been viewed differently throughout the state, but the theme throughout the state has always been the same, us trying to overcome.
Yeah.
And in reference to Huntsville once, someone said, well, her last name is still Alabama.
Right.
So we have had in Huntsville to attack social injustice a little differently. I won't say go out and fight and, this kind of thing. But the central theme has just been perseverance, determination, having folks treat us right. And we've been fortunate here in Huntsville that we do have folks who will come and sit at the table with us to discuss issues and bring about change.
Wow.
I've just noticed that now there seems to be a coming together, as to say, we still have work to do, though. We can't overlook that.
Always. We can never start thinking we're done, right?
Yeah, but the central theme is just perseverance, determination, and we won't turn around.
Absolutely. I love that. All right, so our time is running out. So before we go, we have some questions on here. People want to know where Huntsville Revisited is located, so we can give them that.
We are at 2007 North Memorial Parkway, Suite O, as in orange. 2007 North Memorial Parkway, that's near the intersection where Kroger sits. And we're in the H.C. Blake complex. H.C. Blake, but I'm Huntsville Revisited, come by and see me. I'm in the H.C. Blake Art and History Center. Also, during the month of February, we're having a pop-up museum. I'm partnering with the Shower Center.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And
Tell
Mr.
us
Kent
about that.
Ballard over
Okay.
there, we are in the progress. We're getting the wig straight, as to say. But we have an exhibit. You can walk through what used to be the Showers Public Library, the
Yes,
Huntsville Public Library that was in the Shower Center. Come by and see some amazing stories, amazing histories of Huntsville. You're going to see visual art. There are exhibits for the Buffalo Soldiers, for doctors and businessmen and women, politicians, personalities,
Yeah.
recording stars.
Okay, you looked at me when you said personalities. What does that mean?
Well, media personalities.
Okay, gotcha.
So we've archived our
Yeah.
history over there.
Okay.
In a nutshell, I believe our citizens will be proud of what
Wow.
has been exhibited there, and it'll be there through the end of the month.
Oh, wow. So as we close, how can the community actively engage with and honor the diverse Black history of the Tennessee Valley?
Have some conversations with your older family members, first of all. Gather those stories, archive them, write them down, grab your cell phones, any type of video, audio device. Talk to mama, big mama, grandmama, Uncle Lou, Uncle Les, Aunt Gert. Record those stories. That's how you can honor it and preserve it
Yes.
for not just for future generations in general, but for your own family.
Yes, yes.
All of us are historians. Get to writing and get to recording.
Hey, man, thank you so much for being here. That's why I said this is no better way to start Black History Month than to have you here
I'm honored.
to give us that overview, that 50,000 mile view down looking at Huntsville and the Tennessee Valley, getting that great information. Yeah,
And they
one more
can
thing?
also follow us on social media.
Social media, okay.
Instagram, Huntsville Revisited, Facebook, Huntsville Revisited, and Negro History of Huntsville, Madison County, Alabama. And then thanks to WJOU for honoring what I do, and you guys highlight from time to time some of the stories, and
Yes.
I'm indebted to you. Thanks.
And I want to continue to highlight them all throughout this month of February. On Thursdays, I'm going to be trying to bring in some individuals
cool.
live to
Yeah.
talk about some of the people you've already mentioned. We're scheduling now. So every Thursday, y'all, is Black History Month, where we really highlight some living legends of Black history right here in Huntsville. Thank you so much for being with
honored.
me. Thank you. And thank you all out there as well who have joined us on Facebook and on YouTube to hear this wonderful information. All right, we're going to be right back after these messages.
Tamarind Island Grill, serving Caribbean soul food at the camp in Mid-City. A taste of the islands with authentic Caribbean dishes like jerk chicken, curry chicken, and fish and chips. Tamarind Island Grill also offers a variety of gluten-free, vegetarian, and vegan-friendly dishes. For more information, 256